Hi, and welcome to Matt Holman Talks Mental Health, the podcast where I have the opportunity to sit down and chat to amazing humans to listen to their stories and journeys with mental health and all different varieties of topics. For this episode, I'm so happy to introduce Georgina Colman to the conversation. Welcome, Georgina.
Hi.
Hi, lovely to have you. Just very briefly, how do we know each other? So I'll share that and then I'll let you do a proper introduction to yourself, Georgina. So Georgina is actually married to a friend of mine, Stuart, who was one of my guests on a podcast episode back in, gosh, a long time ago now, 2022 maybe, episode 45 for anybody that's looking for it. Stuart Coleman is his name. He talked very openly about his experience and journey with or living with somebody with a disability, and that sort of links us together to Georgina, of course. It was an amazing episode, and now I get the wonderful joy of sitting down and listening to your side of the story as well. So Georgina, welcome to the conversation. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into a proper flow of conversation together.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. So I'm Georgina. I was diagnosed with MS in 2003. It was shortly after my son was born at the end of 2002. And I was diagnosed because my eye was going funny, and then I got some headaches, and my doctor said, "Oh, you need to go and have an MRI scan." And I was like, "No, I'm just really tired. I've had a baby. I'm gone back to work quite early. I'm sitting in front of a computer all day. I'm not getting enough sleep. It's probably just that." So I ignored her. And then a few months later, I got the eye going double vision again on one side. And she was like, "You really do need to go and see someone." So I went and had an MRI, and I was told by a lovely consultant that I had benign MS and to go away and forget about it,
Right.
which I kind of did. At that time, the internet wasn't like it is today. So there wasn't like loads of information that I could look up. I was kind of left to my own devices. So I just got on with my life. And it didn't really impact me until the year after I got married to Stuart, actually. And my walking started to go downhill slightly. And we saw, although actually we didn't realize it was going downhill until we saw a consultant, because we were thinking about having another baby together. And the consultant who we saw said straight away, "You're walking funny."
Right.
And that kind of, it was almost like words have power. And that really ties back to mental health. He said something to me that said, "You've got progressive MS with no scans, no information." He'd seen me for 5 minutes, and literally my walking went like that overnight. Really powerful what he said to me. And I didn't actually get to see another consultant or have the results of my scan for nearly a year,
Right.
which is just crazy. So I spent a year thinking that I had progressive MS and that my life was going to be in a wheelchair, because up until that point, I had ignored MS. I did exactly what the first consultant said to me. I went away and forgot about it.
Yeah.
So I didn't participate in any groups that may have been around or read anything about it. I just completely led my life as if I didn't have it. So it was a bit of a shock, really. And when I finally saw the actual consultant, who would have been my first consultant had she not been ill, she said, "No, I think we've got a small window and we need to make a choice now. Here's drug A and drug B."
Right.
And even then, looking back, I think I was railroaded into it. I'm
Okay.
like, I don't mean that in a horrible way, but I wasn't given any other information. And it was such like, you've got a short space, you need to make a decision. So that's what I did. And I chose a drug treatment, and it didn't make me any better. It probably made me worse in many respects. That's probably due to side effects, and some of it may have been coincidental. Maybe my walking would have gone downhill like that, plus all the mental health thoughts around, I was going to be in a wheelchair from what this first consultant had said to me. So, my head wasn't in the right place anyway. And then in around 2017, 18, I think I decided that, do you know what, I'm going to go down the holistic route and just look after my health through therapies like acupuncture, seeing the osteopath, seeing a chiropractor, doing physio, exercising, eating really healthily, and maybe see how I go with that. And actually, I would say, although some things have got slightly worse over the years, I'm still not wheelchair bound, and I'm still, I live my life in the best possible way as I can. And I would argue I'm probably healthier than I've ever been. So for me, that was a good thing. It's, I think we don't realize how we live our lives until we have to make a big change to them. And for me, it was, reevaluating everything that I did and thinking about my body more, I guess, really cliche as a temple, but I think it's really important that we think about what we put inside our bodies. And so that's kind of the path I took. And then about 2 years ago, I think, I was out shopping with my cousin in a shop, and we were talking and we were about to buy something, and my son's at university and I could see I could get a student discount in this shop. And I was like, why is there no disabled discount? By this point I was disabled, really. I used walking poles, or I used a wheelchair if I was out for for further distances. So I was like, why is there no disabled discount? It's really expensive being disabled. It costs on average £1,000 a month according to Scope. I
Yeah.
think it's the actual figure now with inflation and the cost of living is slightly higher than that. But, for the average disabled person, it's expensive. And I definitely live and breathe those costs every day.
Mm.
And it kind of festered in my mind for a while. And I was like, I need to do something about this. So last year I launched Purple. We've just been in the last sort of couple of months of last year and then the beginning of this year, we've been building the technology, and we've gone live now with a few brands, which is amazing. And the idea is to help the disabled community, which includes people with all sorts of disabilities, whether that's physical disabilities, mental health disabilities, to help them offset those costs of being disabled by giving them discounts off everyday products and services. So it's, when I look at my life and I think, maybe this has happened for a reason, and maybe I was meant to get MS so that I could then come down this pathway and do Purple, and I really want to make a difference to my community that I'm part of, because I know how expensive it is. It's really expensive.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's kind of where we're at now with Purple having gone live quite recently, and it's really exciting times. We're live on 8 brand websites, which is amazing, and users can go onto those brand websites and they can verify that they're disabled, and that will be through government documentation or council documentation. And we do accept a couple of other IDs where they've already done the checks that those people meet the requirements for the disability cards. And our full website will launch in July, where we'll have a lot more offers and discounts available to the community.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it's all kind of snowballing quite quickly, which is really crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. Honestly, Georgina, that was a great introduction, by the way.
It's very long, sorry.
The whole story. No, it's fine. It's really, but you know what? You're so inspirational, really, because you said about being on that pathway and MS and I live in a parallel world of that thought, in sort of a different space, not in the physical disability, but it sometimes I feel we need to learn about ourselves, as we go, on the hoof, isn't it? And I think what you're doing with Purple, and I will share all the links to everybody listening, please do go and check it out, is Purple without the E. So just let's be clear, don't start putting in the E and going, I can't find anything. Purple, we'll make sure the links are attached to this, but taking that journey and learning from that, and how simple actually the concept is great, and that's what it's about, isn't it? But how many people truly know the cost of being disabled, when actually, when we look at it, most people only look at accessibility and the other core things that you see a lot of, ramps and pavements and curbs and access to every open space that's available. But I just think it's so powerful. I just want to go back a little bit in your journey, if that's okay, Georgina, because I don't know much about MS and multiple sclerosis. And I'd love to know a little bit more about what you've learned on that journey of what that means and how it works. So is it all right if you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. I'm no expert at all, but I think
well, you live with it, so you have a lived experience.
Every day or every week can be very different. So it's kind of like a roller coaster. And you can have really good days and you've got lots more energy and you can do more stuff, but then you get the knock-on effect of that because you've kind of reached your peak.
Yeah.
And then you can spend the next couple of days with it being harder to move and your body's much more tired. Stress is has a massive impact on MS.
Okay.
In fact, all autoimmune diseases, I think, stress is a massive underlying, reason for flare-ups, etc. So I try and lead a very stress-free life these days, as much as I can. I'm lucky our boys are all grown up, my son and my 3 stepsons, but although to be fair, they probably cause more stress in their young adulthood than they do when they're 5 or 6 and you can control them a little bit. But yeah, but for me, it's important. Like, I do things that I want to do. So I'll read a lot of books because I love reading.
Yeah.
And I think COVID helped actually in some ways, because you always feel like you have to go out and do all these things because you see everyone else doing them on social media, and you feel like you're missing out if you don't do these things. But actually, I'm quite happy to be at home. And I think I've got to the point now where I'm okay to say that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm quite happy to sit at home with my husband and the animals and just watch TV, read a book. You know, I do my exercise at home. You know, we do a lot of Lego as well, which is great for the mind and helps, you know, it's very relaxing. You know, so I think as you get older, you kind of realize you don't have to be like everyone else.
Yeah, it's so true though, isn't it? And that's it. It's making sure that you're doing the things that you enjoy, not what everybody outside is doing. To I run a lot, and I know that wouldn't be practical for yourself, and but then that's what I love, and that's how I manage my health and
Hey, I
well-being.
can run before the MS, so let alone with the
Right,
MS.
okay, fair enough. Yeah, well, it's a personal choice, right? It's a personal choice, but that's it, and that's the key to it, isn't it? So recognizing sort of the impact it has, and then making those adjustments for it, and knowing sort of how to manage that. But in terms of sort of the development pathway, then into knowing more about it, learning more about it, and you've been working alongside that as well, and then all of a sudden this inspirational moment came to you of thought, which was, I need to do something with the community now.
Yeah, yeah,
How
definitely.
And you
You know,
mentioned before we recorded this how many disabled people there are in our
yeah,
society.
I think it's 16 million, which is almost a quarter of the population,
That's
which
incredible.
is quite crazy. And many businesses don't, they overlook them. I don't think it's on purpose at all, because in fairness, before I was disabled, so before like 2018, I would say, I probably didn't pay much attention to the disabled community, you know. So it's not that I I wasn't being nasty. It's just it didn't enter my brain, I guess, to think about it. But I
Yeah.
think the world is changing, and I think the younger generation expect more, and they expect inclusivity. And we're starting to see changes where there's more disabled presenters on television, in reality TV shows lately. You know, there's definitely more disabled actors out there. You'll see models now for some brands that are starting to embrace that inclusivity. And the disabled community is really loyal. So if you can tap into that
Okay.
and make them feel like they belong to your brand, then they're gonna, you know, be grateful for that, and they'll probably become a much more loyal customer and tell their friends and family about it, you know, because they'll feel like they belong.
Yeah.
Whereas when brands overlook them, that's not very nice as a disabled person, especially someone who may have visual impairments and, you know, struggle with website accessibility, you know. So my hope with Purple is that I can build a community of, I don't know, hopefully 2, 3, 4 million disabled people would be amazing
Yeah.
in time. But it's more than just a discount site. I don't want to just be a discount website. I want to put all the information that's currently fragmented all over the internet,
Yeah.
because there's so many different disabilities and people tend to go and look for information and it's hard to find, or it's not where you think it might be. So provide information and signpost to places where they can get the right information and advice if they need it. I want inspirational stories from community members. I want to help disabled entrepreneurs to showcase maybe their businesses. And it might be that, you know, they can't afford to give a big discount, and maybe in some cases they can't even give a discount, but it's the right thing for us to do is to promote what they're doing, you
Yeah.
know. And so it's more than just us trying to do discounts and make money from doing that, and that's it alone. Obviously it's a business at the end of the day, but I want to make sure we give money back to the community.
Yeah.
In the short term, once we start making revenue, that will be giving money to a disabled charity, which we're still in the process of working out who.
Yep.
And then my longer term plan is to create a foundation. You know, my dream is that one day I can have a foundation and just run that and give grants to people. I think it's really unfair that someone who's got a disability one person can afford to have a piece of equipment that might make their life easier, and someone else can't because they don't have the finances to pay for that. And the
Yeah.
NHS is fantastic at many things, but when you have a long-term condition, they're not really that. You know, they don't provide you with all the things that would help make your day-to-day life easier. And
Yeah.
so I want to be able to give grants directly to people, because I think that's what would really make a difference.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of my long-term goal. If I can do really well and build Purple up into a really good brand, then I can do good with that money that I can make and put it back into a foundation, because, I just think that that's the right thing to do and to help my community.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? That's the key to it all. It's the community piece to it, and making sure that everybody feels connected to it, and that's half the battle, isn't it? Because a lot of people I know from a mental health perspective, feel isolated and they don't have that point of connection to it. So it sounds, all your thoughts and plans around what you want to do with it sound incredible, because those are things that society really is lacking in many ways at the moment, right?
Yeah.
There's
And
many. Go on.
I was going to say also, it's like shared knowledge, isn't it? Like, I know with my MS that I discover gadgets that help me, or supplements that might be beneficial. And, I always think it's good to share that information. So if we can share that within the platform, when people
Yeah.
discover products that help them, then not only is that great for brands because they get more exposure for their products, but it means that you're helping someone else within the community who didn't even realize they could buy that piece of equipment
Yeah.
or supplements, or that they would be beneficial to their condition. So I think that's another angle, that whole sharing knowledge.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, the information is so fragmented and it's all over the place. And you see that with so many different parts, don't you? Because there's so many confusing and conflicting things. And I think half the challenge is what's factually correct and what's just spurious information that people have just put out there because it's for whatever purpose they believe it's relevant. And that is something that is really important to that, isn't it? So making sure people know the facts of what it is and how it works. Because I'm thinking, as I'm saying that, going back to your two choices that you had, medicine A or medication B, when you know nothing about it, how do you make an informed decision?
No one said to me there's a holistic route, you don't
Yeah,
actually have to take a medication.
right.
No
Yeah,
one said
yeah,
that to me. And at the time, obviously, even then, even in 2015, there wasn't as much information as there is now
yeah, sure.
online. And now there's loads of groups and places where you can find that information if you know what to go and look for. But I thought that I was being given the best choices,
Sure.
and maybe they are the best choices for some people, but for me, that wasn't the best choice for my body and how I want to live my life. So I think, yeah, more information, people sharing their stories on our platform,
Mm.
talking about their conditions and their stories and what helps them, can be really valuable to other people within the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's it, isn't it? Is there, how do you connect to a community of people when they don't necessarily know they could connect to it as well? And that's going to be half the battle in terms of the marketing and the connection and how you get that out to people as well. But it does, I love this thing about stories. I'm really passionate about storytelling, and this is a story to me because I'm learning your journey and your experience. And like you say, and for anybody that's listening, everybody will have a unique experience. So maybe pill A or tablet A or medication A is the one, but
Exactly.
that doesn't necessarily answer everybody's question, does it? And it's the same with depression and anxiety and and ADHD and all these different diagnosable things where not everybody's pathway is identical. I'm the holistic side. I just want to touch on that a second, if that's okay, Georgina. In terms of sort of of course, most holistic therapies cost money, or there's a significant investment. Of course, when you're talking about that £1,000 a month, I'm guessing a lot of that is
For
wrapped
me,
up.
yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, so I do a few different things, but I feel like with MS it's a bit of a jigsaw puzzle. So you
Yeah.
do all these different things and they all help in some way. So it's not like a one thing does it all. So I every month I go to my neurophysio, twice a month I see her.
Okay.
So that's probably cost me about, I think their prices are just going up. So it costs about £240 a month.
Okay. Yeah.
That's I then go to something called EMS training, which is electrical muscle stimulation training, which is
Okay.
really clever. And it's not just for people with a disability. It's where you get hooked up to a electrode machine and you do exercises, but you can do a 20-minute workout and it's equivalent of doing a 90-minute hardcore gym session.
Oh, wow.
So it works your muscles.
Yeah.
The problem is with MS, you get a lot of spasticity, and then beneath the spasticity is really weak muscles.
Mm.
So I've got this amazing suit called a Molly suit, and I'm really lucky that I was able to afford to buy one of them.
Yeah.
And that helps reduce the spasticity within my body. It was
Right.
designed for cerebral palsy originally, and
Yeah.
then they realized it would help people with MS. and it's a suit you wear it every other day for an hour, and they fit it for your body, so they do the electrodes to work with your body where you need help. And what that's done is reduce my spasticity, but it's uncovered my weak muscles. So now I have to work on making those muscles stronger. And one of the ways of doing that is obviously the electro muscle training, because that stimulates the muscles.
Yeah.
It's never a straight line with MS. It's always like this, because I go 5 steps forward, 5 steps backwards, because then my body has to kind of recover and retrain itself. And, so it's never a kind of a smooth upward journey. But so that's expensive. That's 200, I think 200 and something a month as well.
Yeah.
And then I see an acupuncture once a month. That's about £60. I do the chiropractor every month. That's about £60.
Yeah.
I buy lots of supplements. They're really expensive. I probably spend £200-300 a month on supplements, but they're all supplements that are beneficial. And I went through a long process of trialing things, taking things out, putting things back in. Yeah. And I think now I've got to a stage, maybe 5 years later, of where I think I'm quite comfortable with what I take. But then I still try new things. If someone says this worked really well for me, I'll go, well, I'm going to try that. Because you just never know what you might stumble upon that will work. So I'm always open to, I'll try anything and everything if there's a possibility, because I believe that there's no such thing as no, and that there's always a way, and you can try and you can find a solution. And so I'm always trying different things.
Yeah.
Stuart laughs at me because he's like, another gadget. And I'm like, yeah, but you
got to try it.
Absolutely.
If for nothing else, you're trying it for others as well, right?
Exactly. And like the Molly suit was expensive. It was, I think they're about £5,000, and I'm so appreciative of the fact that I was able to get that. But if you cost that out over the years that it will last for, and the benefit it gives me in reducing that spasticity, which means although my walking's not improved, it's easier to move, and it's allowed me to do more different exercises and to encourage my body more. That's worth its weight in gold, is it not?
Yeah, it's got to be, isn't it?
It's not fair that I can have it and someone else can't.
No.
And that's really riles me. And that was, another reason for Purple, is that I want to make money so that I can help people have those things, because it's not right that we've all got a disability. We didn't ask for it. Why is one person gets access to something that would benefit someone else, but they can't afford it? To me, that's just not right. That's not how it should be. And if we lived in Europe and we had private healthcare, all of us, we would all get access to those things. Because the Molly suit, I'm in a group for Europe, and not everyone, but a lot of them get it on their health insurance. We don't even have that possibility. So if I can do my little bit to help, and I can, even if I only ever give away 1 or 2 Molly suits to people, or some kind of wheelchair or whatever it is someone might need, then I've done my little bit in the world, and I'll feel happy when my time comes.
Yeah, no, wow, I just think it's so incredible what you're sharing, and thank you for sort of outlining all those things, because it's not, for able-bodied people, it's easy to get a gym membership that costs 60 quid a month or whatever it is, 80 quid. But it's not a gym membership you need a lot more, and there's a lot more things that you need to factor into that, and it all links into that £1,000 number, and what you're sharing, I think that's a low ball when it comes to sort of the reality of it, isn't it? If you're investing in your body and you're doing all the things that you think you can help or can help you. So
well, otherwise what do? Sit on the sofa and end up wheelchair bound, and then drain the NHS of more resources? That's just not my personality type. I want to have wheelchair will travel. That's my mentality to life.
I love that.
You
travel as well, right? You go away, you get out.
Go away. I even went, we went on holiday with our stepsons a couple of years ago, and I was like, I really want to try sky what's it called when you go off the boat? Paragliding.
Paragliding.
And I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And like the men were lovely. They carried me onto the boat. They got me into the gear, and I did it. And I was like, this was amazing.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think you should say no ever. I think there's always a way.
Yeah.
life's too short. You've just got to try these things.
It's just adapting things, isn't it, as well? And I think that's half the chat. Workplaces struggle with that, around adapting, the workplace, and not just for disability in terms of physical disability, but even in terms of neurodiversity, and accepting and acknowledging that actually what we all need is a little bit of a comfortable ride through things, rather than this constant battle of trying to get in, trying to be suited, trying to be part of the community. So yeah.
And I guess that comes back to something else that's really important for me is I want to recruit disabled people. Once we are able to recruit people, I think it's really important that we recruit from the disabled community, because there's plenty of people who struggle with their disabilities in getting employment. And because people think it might be more challenging to recruit someone who's disabled, or they have more needs, but that doesn't mean they aren't more than able, and there's my job. Very capable of doing the job. And I think if I can help bring employment to people within my community as well, then that's absolutely what we will do.
Incredible. And maybe even evolving that into helping businesses to bring that into their world a bit more. It's sort of the next piece, isn't it? It's how do we encourage inclusivity, meaning everybody, not just small pockets of people.
Absolutely. And the more as we grow, and the more once we have that bigger community, there's so much we can do. We can help brands with their accessibility on their websites, because we'll have a pool of people that we can do market research with. We can get data from, because if it helps our community, then people are going to be more likely to be able to share their experiences and talk about the things that they struggle with when they go on websites, etc. So I think there's so much potential once we've got to where I want us to be.
So basically, you just need all the brands to just recognize the importance of supporting the disabled community.
Absolutely.
Purple is the place to go. That's where they need to be. That's where the party's going to be, right?
They give discounts to students, they give discounts to key workers, they give, blue light. Why not the disabled community?
Yeah.
The one community that actually costs us a lot of money
Yeah.
to live our lives in the same way as a non-disabled person. So we should be helping that community. And actually every brand I've spoken to so far has been like, why has this not been done before? We should absolutely be doing this. And I've had really, really positive conversations, which is fantastic. And we've got lots of brands in the pipeline. So it's very exciting.
Love it. I think it's brilliant, honestly. And for anybody that doesn't want to answer the phone or have you meet with them or fool them. But yeah, listen, we are coming towards the end, Georgina. Apologies. I just want to continue this conversation and sort of sit with you while this journey's happening. I feel like I just want to be sort of alongside it, and I will be following this. And I strongly encourage everybody out there to listen and get involved where you can. Sign up if you have disability. You can sign up and sort of already start to access some of those opportunities. Right, that's already in place.
Yeah, you can go on the 8 websites that are listed. If you follow us on Facebook, Purple Discounts without the E, and we put all the offers as they come up on there as well as on Instagram. And if they sign up, then they'll get our weekly email roundup as well of offers. But the full website will be here soon. Soon.
We're not far off, are we? Although this is like an evergreen episode, so it'll look, for anybody listening after July,
it might be live.
Go and check it out. Go and use it. Go and have a look at it. And for anybody that's listening, if you know people who have disabilities, and registered disabled, please encourage them as well to go and take a look. I really just want to sort of, although we might not have a massive audience for this podcast, it's the people as the listeners and the people that are following this, because you will know, no doubt, disabled people. We all do, and whether we recognize that yet or not, we do know disabled people. So make sure they get access to these things and the support, because the one thing that's really, I genuinely, Georgina, you've educated me so much today in a very short space of time on the challenges, the experiences that people are going through, the type of tools that people use that are not cheap and accessible to everybody. And I think that creates such an important message for the future of how do we help people better. And I think it's been brilliant. Honestly, huge thank you to you. You're doing amazing things. And when I had breakfast with your husband recently, and he was telling me all about the work you're doing, you can see by the reaction of him as much as you, how passionate this is a project for what you're doing. So all the very best with that. Final thoughts from you? Any final parting words that you want to share? Words of wisdom or thoughts?
I just think that you shouldn't let your disability stop you from doing anything. I think if I did, I wouldn't be doing Purple. I think, just go for it and see what happens.
Love it. Well, that's it. There you go. Georgina, thank you so much. Your wise words. Don't let the
Thank you.
disability hold you back. Go and do everything you want to do and just keep on shining, being amazing. Look after yourself, and I look forward to following this journey. And for everybody listening, please do go and follow the links. They will be dropped into this episode as well. Follow the work that Georgina and the team at Purple are doing, because they are going to be moving and shaking, and it's going to be really good. So follow that journey. Thank you so much, Georgina. Look after yourself, and I'll
Thank
catch up.
you. Take care.